Will Undisputed prove who's top dog at 147? Errol Spence Jr. or Terence Bud Crawford? Or do all roads stop at Jaron Boots Ennis? What's good, everybody? It's your boy, Cardinal Red Sports. Let's talk about it. Alright, so will the Undisputed fight, if we ever get it, between Errol Spence and Terence Bud Crawford, will that fight actually prove who's the best at 147 pounds? Because I think even if we do get that fight, there's still going to be a lot of question marks about who's the best, because you still have Jaron Ennis out there, you still have Virgil Ortiz. You had guys like Conor Ben until he got caught. He was making a little come up until he got caught. And you still have Rashad Ellis out there. You have a lot of big names that are in the 147 pound division that could definitely make a wave and a splash over the next few months. So my question to everybody is, even if Terence Crawford and Errol Spence do fight, are they truly the best at 147 pounds? And I think the real problem is that the 147 pound fighters, they don't always fight each other. They're not always putting on the best, fighting the best. And when you talk about what's the best weight class, period, you know, me personally, actually, I think it's a tie between 130, 135, and 147. I actually like 130, 135. There's a lot of good fighters down there. Even though I don't think all those guys will be there, you know, for the near future. A lot of them are moving up, you know, trying to chase those bigger fights, bigger names, bigger paydays, and bigger audiences. So I'm not sure if 130, 135 is going to be stacked the way it is forever. But when you talk about right now, you got to think that, you know, 130, 135 is a really good division, and 147 is probably the best division out there. Now, even if Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. fight each other, will that prove who's the best at 147 pounds? Because like I just said, the problem is everybody at 147 doesn't fight each other. And that, to a lesser extent, that happens down at the lower weight classes too. You know, at 130, 135, those guys are not always fighting each other, but it's a little different. It's because at 130, 135, you could run into a fighter who has all the skills but none of the popularity and end up getting beat and embarrassed, and it could severely damage your career. Now, I know this is the generation of O, you know, everybody wants that O, but sometimes the O is good because you can learn from the O. Sometimes the O is bad because it can harm your popularity, but I'm always I would rather people learn from an O than chase, you know, the old generation mentality. Because I actually think that's what's going to end up killing the sport of boxing, is people chasing the O and not learning to be better fighters. Now, when you take that back to 147 pounds, you know what? I actually like, you know, 130 a little bit more than I do the higher weight classes, 130, 135. And I think it's because I'm like a holdover from the Pacquiao days, you know. Even, not just Pacquiao, but even a guy like Pretty Boy Floyd. You know, I was a fan of Pretty Boy Floyd. And the thing I liked about Pacquiao and Pretty Boy Floyd and fighters like that back in the day when they were at the lower weight classes was the fact that they would throw these incredible combinations, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 punch combinations. And it would look so spectacular and unreal. It's something that the higher up you go in weight, you don't always get that. Or guys might do it once a round or twice a round. But at the lower weight classes, you know, there's less snap on the punches. So guys aren't getting as knocked out as much, but you are seeing like ridiculous flurries. Like once again, 8, 9, 10 sometimes punch combinations put together. So it's something as a boxing fan that is spectacular to watch. And you don't always get that at the higher weight classes. It's something that's really kind of exclusive to the 135 division. So that, you know, that to me, that's a one up for the 135, 130 division. You know, that the 140s, you know, the 147s, it starts to degrade at 140. You know, 147, they do it sometimes. You might see 3, 4, 5 punches, but not too much beyond that, because the shots that can come behind those combinations are a lot more heavier and have knockout power coming with them. So I think that's one of the reasons you don't get that. But that's off topic anyway, man. Another off topic, Money Mayweather to me was a character, and Pretty Boy Floyd was the fighter. I didn't really take Money Mayweather that seriously, but Pretty Boy Floyd was he would give you the business, put it that way. But Pretty Boy Floyd disappeared a long time ago. But anyway, back to 147 and Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. So even if those two guys do decide to get it on and they fight, and one of them becomes crowned Undisputed, does that prove who is actually the best at 147? Because you would still have Jaron Boots Ennis out there, you would still have Virgil Ortiz out there, and I think everybody knows what Boots is capable of. I think everybody knows that Boots is really going to be the next big name. And if one of those guys get crowned Undisputed and then leaves the division and doesn't fight Boots or doesn't fight Virgil or Rashad Ellis, or one of those younger lions that's on the come up, even Josh Taylor, whenever he decides to make the jump up to 147, because I believe he was supposed to do it last year, but I think his last fight at 140, it didn't go exactly how he thought it would, so he decided to not make the jump so quickly. I don't know if that was a decision made by him or a decision made by Bob Arum in Top Rank, but we were supposed to see Josh Taylor move up to 147, and I think that's another name that can make a splash. And speaking of Josh Taylor, I think that's a fight that Terence Crawford could be possibly trying to put together in the background as Josh Taylor's first 147 fight. It just hasn't been talked about a lot. And once again, I don't know if Josh Taylor's ready to make the move to 147 or not. But there's a lot of good competition there. And if those guys fight, and let's just say Errol Spence wins, like the majority of people think he will, and he moves on and never fights Boots, is he really the best at 147 pounds? Is he really the top dog, or did he just beat one of the top dogs and moved out of the way of the real top dogs, the Virgils and the Boots? Because at the end of the day, I think Boots is going to be the biggest name at welterweight. He might even surpass what Errol Spence and Terence Crawford have been able to accomplish. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, what about Virgil? The problem with Virgil to me is, and it's my own fault, is that I haven't looked into Virgil as much as I've looked into Boots. As a commentator and analyst, I got to be a little better about making sure I have all the facts about all the fighters. I know Virgil has serious knockout power, but I haven't looked into his career as deeply as I've looked into a guy like Jaron Boots Ennis. So Boots, I really think, is the future. Rashad Ellis, he's making a splash as well. He's just not being talked about as much yet, but I do think that his name will eventually reach the upper echelon of 147. And then you still got some of the older guys from this from the past generation that just haven't been active, like Thurman. You got the Thurmans of the world still out there. So if those guys do get it on and one wins, but they dip and they never fight Boots or Virgil, are they truly the top dog at 147 pounds? To me, I really feel like that if they would have set fights up, if the sanctioning bodies would actually step in and start setting the fights, good fights, like I would love to see strategy to duck and dodge each other, and we don't get the best fights as fans. But y'all let me know, if one of those guys do become undisputed but they don't go through Boots or Virgil, are they really the top dog at 147? Are they just barking real loud? Hit that like button for me, share, subscribe. Holler at me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. More than likely to get a response on the tube, so holler at me over there. It's your boy, and we are man.
Take over the city. Take over the state. Feel me? Take over the country. Yeah. Nowadays, everybody and their daddy got the fire spit. Keys spit, what you fight fires with. Wet with it. Now I think I need to show them. Trying to get the paper like I put a seed in Oprah. See me leaning over, weed as green as Oprah. If I'm pulled over, Black and Mal had the older. Want enough chips to host the World Series of poker. Taking over.
Look, rap game, flow game, dope game, cocaine, smoke J. I can get it to you, it ain't no thing. Riding down the back road, raw steam pack loads. I can play them in the turf like Mac and Rowe. I need to stop, I got things to lock. I'm the franchise, cause I got lean and rocks. I'm addicted to this game like, oh no. Gotta quit, I got this Mike Jones like power.
Lean low in the whip, clean, so it's piping hot. Light skin, lean, tight jeans, making pussy pop. All the D-boys on the block, gon' get your guap. Step your game up a notch and I can put you in the block. Most heat, got your whole seat on my bandwagon, 5'3", got them gold teeth and my pants sagging. Oh wow, got your first key and your man's bragging. I'm in the Benz wagon, 6 screens playing John Manny.
We the stars, showcase.